Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about helping your veterinary practice attract, engage, and retain clients. Broadcasting a new podcast every Monday from sunny Southern California, here's your host, Brandon Bashirs.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 169 of the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we are going to be talking about email marketing, how to get more out of your email marketing, how to attract more clients into your email list, and how to use that email list to grow your business. It's going to be really practical and very specific on ideas and things that you can implement right away. So I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for you. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe in iTunes or Google Play. And if you could do me a huge favor, please leave me an honest review in iTunes. I would very much appreciate that. I also want to mention that if you haven't done so already, you should absolutely head on over to the Veterinary Marketing Nerds Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/groups/the Veterinary Marketing Nerds, you can get more help and collaborate and all kinds of good stuff over inside that group. If you have any questions, comments, you need help with anything, please go there and be sure to comment. All right, so let's jump into today's episode. Today we're talking all about email marketing. Now, email is so important still, even in 2019. Email marketing is media that you get to own. And so you're in control of how many people see it. You're in control of when it gets sent out. It's not something where you're renting your space like you would be if you were in, say, Facebook or Instagram or things like that, right? So it's important that you're building this up. You also can use email to build up your retargeting list. So if you have an email address list, you can upload that into Google. You can upload that into Facebook. Google actually has a pretty cool service that's a display campaign that lets you create an ad that looks like an email inside of Gmail, which is cool. It's a placement a lot of people don't use, but it's super interesting and worth tests there. So, especially if you have promotions or specials coming up or, whatever it is that you're doing, I think that it is important to make sure that you're actively pushing out, offers that you're testing and trying to drive behavior and people into your practice. So that being said, it's very, very important that you are building your email list. Now, I think alongside of your email list, you have text message marketing lists, and you have ManyChat lists, which is your messenger marketing lists as well. And I think that those are kind of in the same category as email now, because those are lists that you get to own and push out whenever you want to, right? And so these kind of principles apply for all of these things. Now, I will say, though, email is definitely a different medium from text because you have a lot more real estate to work with, generally. You can send longer emails. Text, I think, should be short and sweet and have a specific call to action. But I think in general, you have kind of the same general guidelines for collecting these things and building up these lists. And you should be diversifying your lists so that you can make sure you're always having a channel of communication with your clients, especially inside of social media platforms. It's very volatile. And so you just don't know what if, you post a picture of a dental procedure and Facebook flags it as graphic or something, and then you get your ad account banned, right? That would be a bummer, but it is totally possible that it would happen. Facebook is being very, very volatile when it comes to anything to do with specific prescriptions, befores and afters. And, a client of mine is publishing content around cancer treatment, and they had their account flagged on Instagram because they said you're supporting or recommending drug use. And it's ridiculous. But I understand, Facebook has to stay on the side of being overly careful because they don't want to get in trouble, especially after their most recent scandals, and they just want to be sure to be above board. And so as a result, they're just the pendulum swinging the other way, where everything is an automatic ban. You're guilty until you prove yourself innocent, basically. And so you kind of have to approach Facebook and Instagram in that way, right? Especially if you're posting stuff that's more sensitive content, you will be seen as guilty until you prove your innocence and get things unbanned and unblocked, which is a bummer. But I think if you have that kind of mentality going into things, you're going to at least, be aware of what you're able to and what you're not able to do. So let's talk, though, about email, right? So it's very, very important. There's 4 general kinds of emails that I think that you need to be sending in general on a regular basis. And I like to go through and send emails using these kind of frameworks here. Now, I think you should be sending out email to your list at least once a week. And I know a lot of people say, well, I don't want to send out that many emails. People are going to get annoyed of me and they're not going to want to open my emails. And if that's the case, if you feel like people aren't going to want to open your emails, you need to make your emails better. Because if you're sending out information that's valuable, which is ultimately what we're going to be doing, it needs to be valuable enough that somebody be like, okay, I'm excited to get this email. I'm excited to open it up. And if I think about lists that I'm on specifically, a lot of the lists that I'm on that I actively look at, and I'm thinking of a few, they are providing a lot of content that is valuable to me specifically. So especially within digital marketing type people that are sending me emails about new cool things, and I can think of a few emails that I actually look forward to and make sure to open up. One of those, and I would totally suggest that you get on this list, it's called Think with Google. It just is product updates about marketing stuff inside of Google, and it's a good newsletter to be part of just because they send you a lot of good info. So if you need help with thinking of what is going to be valuable to your clients, then you need to probably talk to more clients, find out what they're interested in, find out what their major pain points are, how to solve those pain points, and ultimately that's what we're going to be trying to do with the emails that we're sending out. So the 4 kinds of emails that we have, one are transactional, ones are relational, another is promotional, and then last is informational. So those 4 types of emails that you can send out are going to help you to at least get a framework for how often you should be sending out emails. I think you should send a pretty steady mix of all of these, right? You don't want to just be transactional where you're just saying, hey, come in right now and save 10% off this product. It's going to build out fatigue to that. So if you have a steady mix of these things, I think it's going to be great. Now, a few things that I would suggest too before you start. If you are creating email content, I think the way that you need to look at emails are that you're building out systems that are going to help to communicate with your list at scale, which is very important, right? And it helps you to communicate with more people, get your message out there, get people understand about your culture and your practice, what you care about, what you think the pet owner should care about, all of these things, right? And that being said, I think that you shouldn't make these emails time sensitive, right? Don't necessarily put the date that you write them in so that you can reuse them over and over again. So anytime you write an email, if you went out and you said, I'm going to write 10 emails each month for 5 months, right? 10 emails doesn't sound that hard to write. And so if you did that for 5 months, you'd then have 50 emails, and you could send one a week and put people on autoresponder that they would get at least one email from you a week. And then you could do email broadcasts once a month, and now you're really starting to communicate well with your list and things. But building out these systems is crucial, and it needs to be considered a system, right? Because once you have it in place, you're going to be able to reuse it, and it's going to provide a return for you over the long haul, which is so important. You have tasks that continue to produce for you as you go, and it's those kind of things that really help to make a huge difference in your business, because it's essentially like, real estate gives you passive income, right? Same thing with email lists. It's something that you can actively get new clients coming in, or drive calls to action, or drive people in your practice, drive revenue. But if you set it up as a system, it's done. And so I just want to help to instill that this is something that's important and provides a high value return on your time investment, because I know that you're probably extremely busy with time. So that being said, let's dive into these. So the first thing that we have are transactional emails. And transactional emails are emails that are selling something. So you're trying to provide a specific call to action that's going to be, hey, if you are looking for this, or it's time for this, or you haven't been in the practice in a year, or you haven't been in the practice in 6 months, or it's time for this vaccination, whatever it is that you're telling, you have do you need this product or service? Here's how to get it. Here's a special reason why to take action right now. And those kind of promotional emails are, I think, improved if you're able to have better segmentation. So if you're creating lists of, dog owners and cat owners, and within dog owners, you're creating lists of puppy owners and senior dog owners, and, getting really detailed on who is going to be getting what, because the more specific that you can make the offer, the more relevant it's going to be, the more value it's going to have. So if you were, for example, you owned a Jeep, instead of like a Prius and somebody sent you an email that said, hey, get these parts for your Toyota Prius, you wouldn't be excited about it because you don't have a Prius, right? Same thing if you're sending out offers for dog owners and it's not relevant because the person is a cat owner, they're not going to be interested in it. So it needs to be relevant, and you need to have that kind of segmentation. And if you don't have the ability to create that segmentation, I would suggest that you try to figure it out. Every single email marketing service out there has segmentation that you can use. So, MailChimp, you can create specific lists, ActiveCampaign, you can create tags. In Infusionsoft, you can create tags and really segment out this list. And especially if you have an email marketing service that has the ability to tag, go crazy with your tags and create a naming convention so that you can really create that detailed segmentation that you really need. Okay, so transactional emails is just one piece of the puzzle. And I think this is probably where, I think that a lot of practices don't do transactional emails just because they're afraid of coming across salesy. So if you're not generating sales, or you're creating content, or you're sending out emails, but you're saying to yourself, you know what, there's no return on investment here, I'm not actually getting anything out of it, chances are you're probably not sending out offers. So this is one place to do that. You need to send them out. I would send out at least one transactional email a month. And so if you're looking for kind of a formula, I think maybe one of these each week is helpful because it helps to rotate and mix it up. So transactional emails. Next we have relational emails. Relational emails are things that really help to take your relationship with that customer or client to the next level, right? So you're asking them to follow you on social media, right? Let's take a next step in commitment. Here's something for you that is going to be beneficial, right? So you should follow us on Instagram because we do giveaways, we have live streams, whatever it is that you're trying to tell, but you're trying to get them to take the next step. If you have any kind of lead magnets or funnels that you're looking to push people in, these kind of emails help to do that. So let's say you created a puppy guide. So you could say, hey, notice that you have a puppy, wanted to make sure that you saw this, right? This is an additional thing for you. Be sure to go and request it. Or we have a class coming up and it helps you to understand everything that you need to know when you get a puppy, right? Whatever it is, you're helping people to take the next step in the relationship. And so typically that's having them take some kind of a step that increases commitment, whether it's subscribing to your podcast or whether it's, subscribing to your YouTube channel, essentially taking that next step in the relationship. After that, we have promotional. So you might say, what's the difference between promotional and transactional? Promotional emails are promoting a single piece of content. So let's say you made a live stream video or you have a live stream coming up in your practice. You're going to want to promote that. Let's say you have a YouTube video that you just pushed out. You're going to want to promote that, right? You're just sending people to a specific piece of content, maybe even a specific offer, and you're promoting that within the email. And here you're not essentially selling things. You're just making people aware of specific things that are going to be valuable to them, right? So you're promoting either a channel or content or something that's going to help to give people more in terms of consuming your content. And so they're all kind of similar, right? So transactional and promotional, it sounds kind of similar. It's also kind of similar in terms of relational emails too. But that being said, they all kind of have a different objective here. And that's really ultimately how you're going to be measuring success. And we'll talk about that in just a second. And then the last kind of email that you have is informational emails. And informational emails are exactly like they sound. So you're just educating your client or entertaining your client or giving them something that's going to be helpful and helping to provide value so that they want to open their emails. So, if you're creating, let's say a summertime email that's going to go out every single July 1st or whatever, right? Where you're saying, hey, here's everything that you need to be worried about in terms of your dog's health this summer, right? And then you have heartworm preventative stuff. You have tick preventative stuff. Talk about, all kinds of things that what to talk about. When somebody comes in the summertime and you're advising a client on what to do and what to look out for, it's those kind of things, right? So providing a lot of value in advance so that they're opening their email and saying, wow, this is great. I definitely want to be opening these emails. And the thing about informational emails too is it doesn't have to necessarily be your source. You could just provide a list of things that are going to be helpful that you could curate, right? And that curation, if you're an expert, people are going to view that curated source as a time saver and as a convenience. And so curation is definitely a great way to provide value and information. So as long as you're going through and rotating through these different kinds of emails, it's going to mix up your content and make it seem like that you're providing value. You're not always constantly selling, and you're trying to deepen the relationship with that client through email. So a few things that I think are definitely best practices, right? When you have an email that you're sending out, I'll tell you what I see most often. Practices will send out a newsletter, and it will try to do everything under the sun in a newsletter. It's going to be like, hey, here's a story about somebody, an interesting client that came in, and here's upcoming events, and here is, all of our specials and promotions, and here's our booking schedule for our grooming, and it adds like 25 calls to action inside that email. And I get why people do it, because they want to try to give as much value in a single email, but what ends up happening is that you're asking the person who's getting, hundreds of emails every single day to do a lot of work. I think in general, your email needs to have one specific purpose, right? What is it going to be? Are you going to be trying to sell something? Are you going to try to build a relationship? Are you going to try to promote content or something inside of your practice? Or are you going to give away information that's going to be valuable and help to elevate you in terms of status with your client? So having those objectives and then having KPIs that are going to be in line with those objectives will tell you if it was successful or not. And I think too that when you are clear on those objectives, you're able to really hone down and see what's working and what's not, and you're able to tweak things based on that. So, for example, if you have transactional emails, you are going to actually measure the number of offers that were taken. If you have relational emails, you're going to measure the number of increased subscribers that you have on the channels that you're trying to send to. If you have promotional emails, you're going to be looking at views or downloads or things like that. And then if you have informational emails, you're going to be looking at maybe link clicks within the email or, whatever it is. But that being said, you need to have a clear and measurable call to action every time. So if you're asking somebody to sign up for a special, you want to make sure that they're going to be given a way to do that. So is it going to be booked online? Is it going to be call? Make sure that call to action is appropriate, and don't miss having a call to action, because you got to say, here's the offer. If you want it, come and get it. But then you don't tell them what to do. You're not going to have as high of a conversion. So I think really figuring out what is the purpose of the email that you're sending, how are you going to measure that success, and then actually measure and monitor success. Now, a few important things to think about here is that when you're sending out emails, make sure that you have calls to action that are good inside of that, right? And really break down every step of the email. So first, we have to get them to open the email. So that's the headline. Headline needs to be solid. You can use curiosity, you can use scarcity, you can use intrigue, you can use specific direct benefit. Test out your headlines and figure out which ones work best, especially based on what it is that you're doing and the objective that you're using. But that's the first benchmark that you have to get the open rate. And typically when I'm working with veterinary practices, I like to make sure that the open rates are, in the, I would say 30% range. That's usually what I like to shoot for. Once they've opened it, we need to have them read the email so that they can then take action, whether it's, clicking on a link or calling or whatever it is. And typically every single email marketing service is going to have a breakdown of the performance on these different elements. So, you could test things like buttons or just hyperlink text and see what works best for your list. And it's probably going to change over time too. So breaking it down into the most simple forms helps you to really figure out what is working and what's not working. So if you, for example, have an email and it has a great open rate and there's nobody taking action, you can figure out, okay, the call to action is not matching up to the intent that the open rate has. Or, really troubleshooting each one of these different segments and figuring out kind of what's going to work and what's not going to work. Now, let's talk about a few things really quick here. I like to have several different kinds of ways to generate emails here for veterinary practice. Some of the most beneficial ways to do that specifically are using transactional type lists where you have like a deal club. So you could say get special promotions and offers that the Steel Club gets, right? So it's very specific to your practice, and it's branded to your practice, and that way you're going to get high quality people that are going to expect getting offers from you. So that's a great way to build a list, and it doesn't take anything but creating a web form and hooking it up into your email marketing service. So that's one way that I think is really solid. The other way that I think is solid too is creating a segmented list for example, puppy owners or kitten owners or senior dog owners, or whatever it is, but it's going to be a list of resources for a specific segment. And it doesn't have to be something that you created, right? You could compile a list of the best training videos for puppies, or you could compile a list of the best dog foods in your opinion, and explain why you think that, right? But helping to give value, and lists are typically good things, right? So if you're a puppy owner, or you're thinking about getting a puppy, and you see a list from a veterinarian on things to do to make sure that they get potty trained well, right? You're going to be providing value, and it doesn't necessarily take a long time to build. So I'm trying to think of ideas for you that are not going to take a huge amount of time or resources to build out. But once you have that, then you now understand what they're interested in and what they're looking for, and you can provide relevant offers and relevant information that's going to help to bind them to your practice, that they want to come in and be clients of your practice. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, or you need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I would love to know what you're working on in terms of email. If you have a great email sequence set up, let me know if you have any questions as well. Let me know if you have questions on email marketing softwares, which ones you like, which ones you don't like, all of that good stuff. A great place to get that kind of collaboration is inside the Facebook group. Go to facebook.com/groups/the Veterinary Marketing Nerds, and be sure to join there. So thanks so much for listening. I will see you on next episode. Have a great day.